The topics discussed and the information provided on this program is for general information. The hosts of this show are not medical professionals and are expressing their personal views and stories related to their individual lives. Their views are not intended to be used or taken as medical information. If you or a family member have suffered a traumatic brain injury, you should seek help from a practicing licensed physician.
Welcome to Brain Mechanics. It's a show where you've got two guys, myself, Malin Whitaker, and our host, Matt Duffin, who've been there, done that, about traumatic brain injury, the recovery, and living with it or caring for it. Keep in mind that neither of us are lawyers, doctors, or experts in any way. We've just been there, done that, got the t-shirt, so to speak. But today, we have the advantage of having a real doctor here. Elena Gillespie with the Rehabilitation Hospital of Indiana. And she's going to discuss a wide range of topics with us because, you know, we wander a bit, or at least our host does. And so, welcome to Brain Mechanics. Matt, over to you.
I'm kind of stuck now because I had a comeback, then I lost it there at that last part of the comment. Anyway, welcome, and very welcome to you, Elena.
Well, thank you, Matt. I really appreciate that.
She's meant a lot to me in my recovery. I believe 7 years ago, I probably ran into the research department, maybe 6. And as she's an assistant adjunct director, she got some fancy title at the end of her name. She got doctor in front of it. I just call her Elena. Anyway. And she's an assistant, whatever. Her office is right beside Dr. Jim Malik, who is the biggest brain injury. He's been in the game since 1973. Most of you have not been alive since 1973. He travels the world trying to repair brain injuries, save the world. You know, he used to come in and sit in classes with me and test me. It's like Paul McCartney walks in the room. It's like the Beatles walk in the room. Everybody's around this man. He's really a good guy. And I hope to have him on the show, well, maybe 1 month. Right now we got better, because he ain't this cute. But I met them as I became a research monkey, I guess, through the Rehab Hospital of Indiana. And I particularly love it. You know, I went to school, class after class. Indiana University picked me up to do a lot of research study. And I think I recovered a lot from the direction of Dr. Samantha Backhouse and Dr. Lance Trexler at the Neuro Center that the Rehab Hospital owns. And I was led there. I can't leave Dr. Hammond out because she's up there too. She's really smart.
Definitely, yeah.
And I'll let you bring all that up. I know you and Malin want to talk about some of the research programs that are offered out there to you folks. You know, check with your aftercare facility. You know, find out. Check on your computer. Find out what kind of aftercare, what kind of research studies, because they're not going to ruin you. They're not going to take you out. They're going to improve your life. These research, it's not like they're just watching you. You're working. You know, I did one research study on emotions for 16 weeks, I think, once a week. And I had a neuropsychologist with me for an hour out at the Rehab Hospital. It was under Dr. Don Newman's direction, but I can't remember his name right now. It's stupid of me.
Michael.
Yes,
Michael
was great.
Michael. Yeah, he's wonderful.
And, you know, how often do you get something like that? And so I'll shut up and move on, because I'll sit here and talk, and that's not what you're here for. You know, could you tell us how to get into these programs and what people should be looking for, and then I'll let you and Malin talk about some things that you wanted to talk about.
Sure,
Well,
sure.
I guess first, what is RHI? I mean, that's what we
probably
just
a good point.
have reduced it to 3 initials here.
Tell them to watch 3 months ago when I was bragging about myself. Remember?
That was just a second ago.
Certainly, I'd be glad to. RHI is a standalone rehab facility.
Okay.
And we focus on orthopedics, of course, stroke, spinal cord, and brain injury. And and we are affiliated with IU's Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation. I know it's a
Okay.
big mouthful there.
Lots
But
of
we've
money
got
grants.
But we've got two things that Matt just mentioned that is really quite unusual, and that is Dr. Malik and Dr. Flora Hammond. Both of them are fairly large in the research community in brain injury. So, I mean, it's like rock stars. He's not
So
kidding.
I guess we could say that RHI is a leading American
Yeah, you could say that,
in the
actually.
United States, one of the
Yeah.
better facilities then.
Yes, we're part of the Brain Injury Model System research program that is funded, I believe, by the Department of Defense. And it's going backwards in time and looking at thousands upon thousands of cases to look at outcomes, because it just isn't available, it hasn't been available up till now to be able to do that. So that's part of what we're doing, but mostly what we do is we're focusing on, and of course we have an acute care area, you know, where folks are going in pretty much right after coming out of
Right.
hospital.
Straight up.
And but we're doing mostly focusing on emotional impact, what happens emotionally after brain injury, and how can we make that better? Because a lot of folks, you would think that personality is something that's just, you know, very ephemeral and very vague, and it's kind of particular to the person. Actually, a lot of it is lodged in your brain.
It's the way you're wired?
Yeah,
maybe,
it's
to
the
put it
way
in
you're
my terms?
wired, and when you have a pretty bad damage to the wiring, that personality can change.
Yes.
So, I mean, the research is indicating that a lot of folks, they end up breaking up their relationships, they end up divorcing.
Yes.
You know, often we'll get a spouse say, "This isn't the person I married. This is
right.
not.
Right.
I don't know what to do with this." You know, so we're trying to figure out what can we do to either teach them over again how to manage their emotions and how to regulate them, or some medications which are proving to be effective. Yes, as a moment ago, we were talking about amantadine, and there is some research indicating that it is effective in handling some of these emotional outbursts in folks. You know, what's really funny is it was happened upon by accident, which is always kind of, well, often the way with research. Is the initial,
penicillin, for instance.
right? Yeah, exactly. Like, wow. It was originally developed as an antiviral medicine for people with flu. And a lot of folks were bringing in their relative into their primary care physician and getting because they had the flu or whatever, and getting amantadine for it.
Yeah.
And the relatives are coming back and saying, "Geez, can you give them any more of that? That was great," because it was calming them down. It's not a sedative. It is not addictive.
Okay.
And it's a very safe medication as well. And interestingly enough, I had my own brain injury about 3 years ago, falling off a bicycle. And it was kind of intriguing. Dr. Malik and Dr. Hammond, after about, I'd come back to work and so on, and they sat me down one day and they said, "We think you're having problems with your brain injury." And I'm like, no, really? You know, so, what? You know,
yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah, right, exactly. I had no idea. Here I was in brain injury and had no idea. So they sat me down. So Dr. Hammond said, "Okay, let's try this for a bit because you're a little irritable." Yeah, and
just a little.
Well, it was coming out sideways, just a little bit, but it was enough to kind of impact my work. And so they said, let's try this, and so I can report firsthand what the effects are like.
Yes.
It's, like I said, not a sedative or something like Valium. It just gives you a moment to think about your reaction before you do it. And you can still get mad. I mean, sure you can.
Not to interrupt real bad.
No, that's okay.
Malin's very well aware of the situation that I went through about a year after my accident. And I was very emotional and very high-strung and mad for a couple of years. I mean, But Dr. Hammond, part of the research program, they got me on this, and I could look back, and my kids could look back and see it. I calmed down. Now, I quit taking it after a year and a half, maybe, or so. I was trying to think.
What I've experienced is being involved with someone who is brain injured and being around other people that are, is that it was my wife in this particular case that was a victim of a crime. And
I'm sorry.
very frustrating for her was that she remembered all the things that she used to be able to do
Yes.
that she now could no longer do,
Yes.
and the level of frustration would build up.
Yes.
And in her case, it wasn't necessarily lashing out, but it was just emotional, like, "Ooh," you know, kind of
Yes.
things. And
Yes.
that's as defeating as I can't do that. I'm not the same person. Why?
Right.
And then the question comes up, why am I here?
Right. Right.
And
That's
it starts
interesting.
getting deeper than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up, because that is another program that I'm working on to get funded, is utilizing meditation because I'd have a certain segment of subjects, of patients,
Okay.
and they would progress through, here they'd have the initial injury, and then they'd go through a period, they'd go down into
Right.
a well of, trying to figure these things out and trying to relearn how to do all these things. And most people would come back up to some level of functioning. I don't want to say new or better, I want to say different, all right? But they would readjust and so on, but I would have this group of patients who'd stay down at the bottom
Couldn't
of
get
this
out
well.
of the hole, yeah.
They couldn't get out, and more importantly, they couldn't get out emotionally.
Okay.
And it would be the same thing. I remember how I was.
Yes.
Why aren't I that way
Yes.
anymore? How come I can't do this?
Yes.
And my idea is that meditation may be able to help people regain and reteach their brains how to take a breath and say, okay, the present moment is what I'm in. I am not concerned about the past moment. I'm not worried about the future moment. I'm in this one. And here, what tools do I have available to me right now that
Right.
I can use to adjust? So we're looking to get that one funded because, like I said, I've got this group of patients, and we all do, and we were kind of figuring from the data and from also our personal experience that there's about 30% of these patients that just emotionally, they're still grieving
Yes.
to a great degree,
Yes.
over who they used to be. And so trying to develop something and the advantage I see to this is that the people can then, personally, hopefully accept who they are by learning how to relax for a moment. But also,
They got to find acceptance.
yes,
You're
yeah,
not going
that
to
is
make it without finding your acceptance. It's just
Right.
not going to happen.
right, right, to some degree. But even folks who are very, very badly injured, can do this. It's
Okay.
easy enough so that they can do this too. So you're not just appealing to the folks who are, can cognitively, thought process, they can improve enough. We're talking about even the folks who are so very badly damaged that, the chances of them going back to their former life are zero. So I'm hoping that will. We just got a report back from the National Institute of Health, and it's going to take one more rewrite, but they liked it this time.
The grant thing, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yeah, they liked it this time. So
Now, because brain injury is so pervasive, if somebody, let's say we have a wealthy industrialist, hedge fund manager, cartel member, somebody that wants to fund a study like this, are they able to help in any way?
that's really a great question, and I'm really glad you asked that. Yes, we have a foundation at RHI,
Okay.
and
And
people
that's like
can.
the tax write-off kind of 501c3
yes,
kind of thing?
exactly.
Okay.
And
this
that's not
is,
the Dr. Lisa Thompson Foundation.
it's related to it. The foundation
okay.
manages the Lisa Thompson. Yes.
So there is an opportunity for
Yes.
someone if they want to help.
Yes, absolutely. And if they call me, I can connect them with those
All right.
folks.
And by the way, we're going to have all of your information at the end of the show posted up, thanks to our producer.
Oh, great.
So email, phone number, all this type of thing, so that we can, if people do need to get a hold of you, because. And I'm not joking or anything, but I can remember I rode motorcycle quite a little bit, and guys would have a wreck and they'd have some brain injury, and
Yes.
and the extent of understanding a brain injury before anything happened to my wife was basically, was like, well, that's Joe. He's a little different now.
He's a little
okay?
different now,
and,
yes.
And like he might have been a really sweet guy, and now he's really ugly, or he was really ugly, maybe sweet, but you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, okay, just, don't let him drink too much, okay?
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Exactly.
And
yes.
after the experience, now, my wife actually was in the very earliest part of RHI, what became RHI.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Dr. Lance Trexler.
Oh, yes, yes. He's still associated with RHI, yes.
And his beautiful daughter was helpful too in getting us into this early structure. And you're talking about the emotional things, and I mean, it's not a funny thing, but we had groups where the spouses or significant others were meeting with our injured, and the other injured were meeting around a big table. Now, I don't know whether you do that still or now.
Yes, to some degree. Yes, we do, actually.
And one gentleman was very, very upset and actually started crying. And he, like me, was a hunter. And he said, I'm never going to hunt again, because he was restricted to a wheelchair.
Ah, yes.
And I said, wait a minute. I said, no, dude. I said, you're going to hunt again. And he says, no, I can't. And I said, no, you're a handicapped hunter now. You get to sit in your van and shoot him out the window. And believe it or not, that actually, it changed his day. I don't know whether people may be upset about me using the mental image of you sitting in the van and shooting a deer or something, but it helped him, because it was something in his normal life now that he could do again.
Right.
And all around the table, you did that. The other people there did that sort of thing and helped people. And my wife has had a wonderful and excellent recovery.
Oh,
now,
good.
But you spend a lot of time learning and understanding personally.
Yep.
He's done it on his own. Applause.
Yes,
He was one of the
definitely.
spouses that got closer instead of
we
farther away.
We stuck around.
They stuck around.
Right. It takes a lot of work by the entire family.
It does.
And that is not often something that is really emphasized much in recovery from any severe trauma, is that, it's not just to the person, it's to the whole family.
Yes.
And that they need to understand too. We've got another laboratory that is focusing on Dr. Newman, Dr. Dawn Newman, and she is focusing on reteaching people how to recognize facial expressions in social situations. I mean, the rest of us even have tough times sometimes in social situations. We're trying to figure out what's going on. For someone with a brain injury, this is almost insurmountable.
It's interesting you bring that up. My wife has polyprognosia.
Ah, okay. Right.
So that people understand what this means, is if you ever seen these videos where the person is not given permission to be filmed, so they put the humming dot over their head, so you can't recognize who they are. You see the body and all that. My wife's not able to link up Elena as the person. Voices, yes. Or if I introduce, so the way I do it is to help out is I go, oh look, it's Matt.
And that can be mixed up with every brain injury with every person. Maybe they can't hear him.
To
Maybe
some
they
level.
can see him, but they just can't remember. They can't
Yes,
pull it
there's
in
all
real
sorts
fast.
And you mentioned the,
And the
tone
word-
of voice,
Yeah.
too,
And
is
the-
another thing.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, I'm not yelling at you,
Yeah,
honest.
right. Yeah, there's so many different linkages that can be broken or damaged. And so in any case, this emotions lab, Dr. Newman is trying to literally teach people, again, how to interpret facial social cues and how to react appropriately to them. Very frequently, and the rest of us do it too, is very frequently, don't you really feel more angry when you think the person has slighted you on purpose, as opposed to in your head you've gone, well, that was by accident, they didn't see me, whatever, and you're more likely to let it go. In brain injury, you're more likely to ascribe it to a faulty source, all right? And so she's trying to teach people how to dissociate that and realize, wait a minute, they probably didn't understand me. Perhaps I should try again,
Back up, make another run.
Yeah, try it again in some different way, as opposed to immediately flaring and thinking, you did that to me on purpose, when the person may not even been aware what they were doing.
Well, there's that factor, but there are also the ones that do, well, I just can't communicate, and they sink even further into their depression.
Yes, absolutely, and certainly depression is an aspect that has to be treated in brain injury.
Or they'll
and
sink into what they can understand and
Yes.
it's the dog, cat, horse, flower pot,
Yes.
painting that they're working on.
Yes.
Even if they're not a painter, just
Yes.
slop what it looks good to them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
My understanding, I dealt with a lot of brain injured people, as
Yes,
you well know
yes.
too. That's, I have to interrupt on that one.
No,
because
that's really true. Right.
it's deep.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's really deep to come out of your brain injury. You're going to be somebody different, and it might be each and every day for 5 or 9 years. Who knows?
try
Usually,
forever.
the first couple, you kind of come out of what you're going to be, but
Yes. Yeah.
It's one
Maybe
of those
not.
things. I come from the caregiving perspective, so as a caregiver, you have two things that you need to do. You have to try and understand where they're coming from. You need to realize that you have limits, and that you need to seek out help and understanding. Don't react. Act is what I've had to learn. And
It's difficult.
one of the aspects that we had in, going for us is, and I don't know whether you've ever heard of the Serenity Prayer or whether you
Oh, yes.
use spirituality, but in my wife's case, we had to go to that. You know,
Yes. Definitely.
God grant me the serenity, and if you know it, go ahead and recite it. But you have to understand what you can change and what you can't, and give over to God those other things
Yes.
that are out there. Now, I know that maybe that's difficult. Some people not spiritual or not religious or whatever, but we found that there's a very strong spiritual relationship with, in my wife's case,
Yes.
and with the brain injury. And one of those was that she had been someplace, okay? For those of you that are not believers, she went to heaven, okay? She met a guy, Jesus, and she loved the place and she wanted to stay. She didn't want to go back. And the guy, Jesus, said, not now. You have work to do. You have to go back. And she was, one of the things that happened to her because of this experience, she was back. Why am I here? I mean, that's,
you got to find it.
what am I here for? That,
Right.
that was a question that I had to answer from the early parts. What am I here for? Well, in our case, we have 3 children at that time.
Nice suggestions.
One was a graduate. The other was like 11, and we had one that was 15, 16. And I pointed out that she needed to be a good mom.
Good point. Very good point.
So
And that's how you come
gave-
out of it. I mean,
Try
excuse
and
me,
give-
but I
give
mean,
it-
I've been
No,
there.
no,
I've been
you're good.
gone away. I've been,
Yeah.
on the edge. I've talked to God. I've talked to whatever. Church is church.
I think this is
because
an
my
important
daughter
part, though.
and my father, who I loved with all my heart, it's, I saw them. They were in my vision at times, and other times I slipped back in a coma, whatever. As I found out, I wanted to be with them. So when she was dead, and she
Yeah.
told me to get up, I rolled over. I was going back to sleep. I didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
But then I
Frequently,
rolled the
that's
other
what
way.
that's what they end up saying is
Right.
that they're told they need to come back.
Right.
I can't talk about any specific research subject I've had, but since Matt brought it up,
Talk about anything I do all the time.
and so in any case, I am studying the effects of spirituality or the
Neat.
impact of spirituality on brain injury survivors. And
Okay, great.
I'm taking it from the attitude of, not did you have a religious experience, but you can offer that to me if you like. And what was interesting is 80% so far have indicated that spirituality and God were an impact on their recovery.
Sure.
And but some even said, of those, they said, it wasn't at the beginning, but it is now, which I thought was very intriguing.
Well, it's
So-
like I've told people often on my radio show. I mean, it's just one of my gigs. God and I weren't looking for each other. We didn't hang out at the same bars. We did
I love
not.
that.
He
That's
didn't sit at
great.
the same bar at all.
That's great.
But he found me.
That's
And
right,
why?
he did, Matt.
I don't have an answer for that. I don't know why.
Well,
I
okay.
was a fairly good person. I had a lot of faults. Obviously, they don't care about cussing because I'm back again
Well-
to help somebody.
Matt, you want to know? God wanted you to be here doing this kind of stuff instead of setting that damn bar.
And it's a lot more fun.
He wanted you to be helping people that needed help, like the troops and car wreck victims, like recently my niece. I mean, that's why you're here, buddy. You're not behind a bar anymore, thank God, literally.
Couldn't he pick baseball?
No.
No,
not for you.
Not for you, Matt.
I'm playing baseball anyway. I'm a Miracle League baseball player, and I help all kinds of brain-injured people learn how to play baseball.
Well, you know what
it's
I mean.
pretty cool.
But
I
Matt,
understand
what you're doing now is gold compared to the...
And I didn't turn highly religious. I come
no.
to church a lot more often than I used to, but not every Sunday.
Well, it's because I force you to, I guess.
No, you don't force me. I don't get up.
I'm teasing.
But you know, you don't actually turn religious because you've already been there. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of nice to watch the other people and watch their eyes and watch their spirit come out. Yeah. That's what's good to me.
That is rewarding.
The research that you're doing, are you able to accept people's comments or stories, or is there anything that they can tell you that might be helpful in your research?
I'm always intrigued in the what happens with a positive belief system is that it opens up your choices, doesn't it? If you just think, you know, life's a bee and then you die, you know, then your choices are very limited, aren't they? I mean, that's it. That's the path you walk.
You don't want the as good as it gets.
Yeah, you know.
What if this is as good as it?
Yes, but you know, sometimes that's where they're at, and that's okay. No. But definitely, when you think of, gee, what's going to happen tomorrow? Well, then there are more choices available to you, aren't there?
Yeah, the sun will come up tomorrow.
Yes.
Then don't go any farther than tomorrow, and you'll be fine.
Yes, that's right. You've got to keep it in the present moment, definitely.
Right. That's neat.
That's neat. Good. Well, thank you.
Well, you talk about wider. I mean, listen to
her. She say the same thing. That's because I learned it from people and from her.
Well, but listen, guys, listen to what you're saying. Those of you that are out there, and you've got, let's say, a returning veteran, car wreck victim, something's happened, stroke, whatever. It's hardest a lot of times on the family because things aren't the same and you start to wander off in your own mind. Just know that you can have an incredibly wonderful experience. We've got Alana here with Gillespie with RHI, the Rehabilitation Hospital in Indiana.
She's going to come back for another show. We're running
we
short
can do that?
here, so you're going to have to close out for us. This has been
Thanks,
great.
Folks,
we're going to do it
for
again.
watching. We appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, there is a tomorrow. Enjoy. Thank you.
The topics discussed and the information provided on this program is for general information. The hosts of this show are not medical professionals and are expressing their personal views and stories related to their individual lives. Their views are not intended to be used or taken as medical information. If you or a family member have suffered a traumatic brain injury, you should seek help from a practicing licensed physician.